Hello, welcome. My name is James Cox. This is the Martial Arts Lifestyle, and we are today on episode number 36. That's pretty cool. This will be 36 of these, all right? So we're continuing to go. Now, the Martial Arts Lifestyle is a podcast, this audio version, as well as we have video versions of it at our YouTube channel, James Cox Martial Arts. Be sure to check out both. Our YouTube channel has a ton of videos on instructions as well and some past events, and we're always updating and adding good content. There's value there, as well as this podcast. We've had great senior grandmasters of martial arts. We've had many world champions of martial arts. We've had students, kids. We've had people, discuss, nutrition and diet and strength and flexibility already, and we have some really good events. So go back to number one, where I wasn't as good, I don't think, in those first few issues, and go all the way up and check yourself out on these first 36. Check yourself out, check them out. Yeah, all of that stuff there. But again, today I have a special guest. This is Miss Jossalyn Presley. I have a hard time calling her Jossalyn because I've always called her Kinsey. Is that kind of like a deal where you have a name or a nickname when you're little? Mm-hmm. So you were always kind of called Kinsey? Mm-hmm. Kinsey and Jossalyn, I don't see the connection.
So my first name's Jossalyn, my middle name's Mackenzie, and then my last name's Presley.
Yeah, I knew that now that you said that.
Yeah.
So Kinsey. But now as you're getting older, young woman, people call you Jossalyn most?
More, yeah.
Yeah. I feel I'm the only one that calls you Kinsey. I've even had people say, "Who's Kinsey?" And I'm like, I'm more like, "Who's Jossalyn?" But, so Jossalyn and her family are my family as well. Not necessarily blood, biological, but it doesn't mean family isn't always blood. So I think I've known you and your family since you were probably 3, something like that. So that was a good, 12 years ago or so, right? Your mom actually babysat my kids. We lived in the same neighborhood, and I've become friends and family. And your dad is one of my top black belts and manager of our school, and you're a great student. So Kinsey Jossalyn / Mackenzie has been here for a good 12 years or so. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey so far. And you're kind of like when we had the past episode with Mr. Alejandro, man. You're part of all of our special teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, your demo team, your fight team, your leadership team. You come to all of the classes, and you just earned your black belt recently. When did you get your black belt?
This past December.
Yep.
It was probably the hardest thing you'll ever go through, getting your black belt. That will challenge you mentally, as far as you think you can go.
I like that. Yeah. I want you to talk more about that. So about 6 months ago, you got your black belt. Mm-hmm. And first thing, congratulations.
Thank you.
And second, I'm sure the heck glad that you're still here. I say it all the time, but, it's so often where somebody will get a black belt and quit. And if that's you guys, you got to get back on the wagon, man. You got to get back to class, right? You can't reach that, accomplish that big goal, and then not do anything with it. We said before, it's like getting driver's license and never driving, right? It's like getting a master's degree and not using it at all, right? So to become a black belt and then continue training is so important, not just to get that and just quit and give up on it, because then you're able to give back and help others. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to you a lot about that, as well as the demo team. You're captain of our demonstration team, and there's been times where I couldn't be there, and I left you as well as Gabby Lopez in charge of running performances. Now you're also a very accomplished dancer. Kinsey's been dancing her whole life, right? And you could talk more about that, but I know you do all kinds of type of dance, right?
Yes.
Jazz and tap and ballet, and I don't know. I'll let you talk more
Yes.
about that. I don't know the dance world. But all right, your turn to talk, lady. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your martial arts journey.
Hi, I am Jossalyn Presley. I've been doing martial arts for around 12 years. I started when I was 3. I've been in martial arts for about 12-ish years, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I just got my black belt. I don't really know what else to say.
Tell us about that black belt. I interrupted you and you started talking about how hard it was, the challenge, the difficulty, and it wasn't just that couple days of the test. It was the 6 months at least of prepping, because we do what we call black belt trial or candidate for black belt practice, black belt boot camp. It's got all kind of names. But before we even test you for black belt, we do a minimum of a 6-month weekly class that builds you to be successful, because if I'm gonna sign a certificate and say that you're one of our black belts and we're gonna certify you and put you on a family tree and all of that stuff, you need to earn it and deserve it. We don't give those black belts away. But continue on talking about how difficult your test was and what you were saying about earning your black belt.
Earning your black belt, it's one of the hardest things I think you'll ever go through in your whole life. I know that sounds really dramatic, but it pushes you mentally, because you have to learn all the drills, learn their names, learn their numbers, learn the history where you're coming from, learn who brought what, who did what for your family tree. It's just so hard to keep all of that information, and then day of your test, you hope you don't mess up anything, because if you mess up, you're in front of a whole panel of judges that know everything, and it's just it can be nerve-wracking, very, very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and it should be, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because after, right now, you're 6 months out and you're talking about this experience. How would it have been to be in your shoes right now, 6 months after a black belt test, and say, nah, it was nothing, it was easy, it was no big deal? Then you might have felt that it was given to you. Mm-hmm. In martial arts, sometimes belt rank is given away a little easier. I'm still proud and glad that I had the lineage of my instructors working us so hard to make us learn it. And like you said, not to just be good at one thing, mm-hmm. but to be good at all the different aspects of martial arts: self-defense, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, weapons, speaking, talking, instructing, history. What is this style? What is that? Who's the founder? Where did it come from? Your lineage. Who is your instructor? Who is your instructor's instructor? Your roots of where you come from. I've talked about this in some past podcasts of it's kind of sad and embarrassing. Even some high-level, amazing martial artists, in my opinion, and it's just how I was brought up, that don't know much else about their style, much less, their roots, stuff like that. So mm-hmm. that's good. Well, let's talk about demonstration team, which is the performance team. You can even use your dance, because you've been in some big recitals, right? Mm-hmm. Is what you guys call them. Performances in a variety of ways. You recently did a big dance recital. I've been able to watch several of those in the past, but. Demonstration / performing, whether mm-hmm. it be dance or martial arts. How do you do it? What have you learned?
Basically, I think the most important thing is just practicing. Just practice over and over and over again. Repetition, very much repetition. How you have to keep on repeating your jab, cross hook, uppercut. Same thing. When you're in dance, you have to repeat those moves over and over and over again until they become almost perfect. You can never have anything perfect, but close to perfection. Yeah,
that's awesome. Pretty smart girl. Yeah, that's right, man. It's the competition, which is like that 10,000 hour rule, mm-hmm. to do something for 10,000 hours so it becomes a habit. You don't have to think as much about doing it anymore. Because under pressure, or what we call in the fighting is adrenal stress, mm-hmm. you lose your motor skills. You have everything's going to be slightly less, so you practice more so then you can perform with that. Or you find a way to use that for good, positive energy and make it work. So it's one thing to think that you know what you know, and then to do it under pressure with adrenaline, something as bad as an attack or a high-level competition, and still have to be able to perform. So you better, like you said, be solid at your basics, mm-hmm. doing the same things over and over, man. I can't imagine even yourself how many front kicks you've done.
So many.
How many back falls, how many jabs, how many wrist releases or bear hug escapes, and That's it. You do a lot of the same things over and over. I tell the demo team a lot with you guys, because sometimes they want another performance, another weapon, or this or that. Mm-hmm. It's like, we're never doing the same thing again. We're doing the same thing differently, and hopefully better. And you don't get better by bouncing around and not doing something.
A lot of the kids come up to me and say, well, we want to learn a new weapon. But I'm like, how about we get better at the weapons we have now? Because I still see some things that some of the kids are having trouble with, and they are some of the ones say, well, I want to learn this and this and this. I'm like, how about we get our basics down, and then we can grow off of that?
Yeah, it's hard for them to get that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got to be careful how you say it. You don't want to belittle or bring them down, mm-hmm. but man, there's still lots of rooms for improvement. Let's get it to a higher level, right? And that takes time.
Yes, sir.
So you're pretty knowledgeable with a variety of weapons and martial arts. I mean, you could demonstrate the sword mm-hmm. with combos and kata and just skills. all right, tricks. You can demonstrate the bow staff,
Yes, sir.
the kali sticks, the double nunchaku, 1 and 2 nunchuck, or in Texas they call them nunchuck.
No, check.
Yeah, and then kama. Did I say kama? Kali sticks? I don't know. Well, you got basically those 5 weapons that we do. So speaking of weapons, what's your favorite weapon and why?
Ooh, my favorite weapon. Either bow staff or sword. They're probably the 2 I do the most, but I just love them the most.
Yeah. You can do a lot with them, right? Mm-hmm. They're pretty similar. If you do a figure 8 with the bow staff, you do it with the sword. It's pretty similar. And they can be big and flashy in a lot of things. Yeah, we had Alex Mancias down here recently.
He was amazing.
Yeah, learned a lot of skills. Also just joined Premier, Alex. So, cool deal. And you learned a lot of skills from that young man, huh?
Yes, sir.
Cool, little rock star. So, demonstration. And what about performances and routines and helping on the demo team? What are your other lessons you've learned from being a demo team captain as well?
Things that come naturally to me may not come naturally to other people. And I had to teach myself to explain things in multiple different ways. Because how I had explained something for little Susie may not be the same for Brandon. They're like, everyone's brain works different. And that's one thing that I have had to teach myself. That what makes sense to me may not make sense to other people. What comes naturally to me is my flexibility. Now, maybe some people on the demo team aren't as flexible as me. So I can't just say, okay, now throw your leg up there and hold it for 20 million years. And
honestly, audience, most human beings alive are not as flexible as Kenzie. But anyway.
Yes.
So dealing with different people, your strong points might not be theirs. Yeah. I mean, dropping into a full split or beyond, way beyond, the floor gets in your way, is really no challenge for you. It may have been long ago, unless you were just natural and born with a flexibility like that. But for some people, man, they're just, if it's genetic or if it's work, we're all formed differently. That's almost impossible, I
remember asking my mom, what was your first time noticing I had this crazy flexibility? And she's like, when you're 3.
Yeah.
You were sitting on the couch watching Disney Channel and the full splits just like this. And I was like, that's cool. She's like, I thought I lost you. I could not find you for a good 20 minutes. I was like, oh, okay.
I was pretty flexible, but I had to work for it so hard because it was not natural. It was so much work. Years of hard, long stretches, probably things, it would sound exaggerated if I talked about the hours that I stretched. But just the goal of getting to the splits all 3 ways, maintaining it.
Maintaining is the hardest part.
Yeah, because you stop. What's the saying? You don't use it, you lose it. So you got to maintain for certain. But
definitely stretching every day. When people say, well, you never stretch. I'm like, I stretch. I have to stretch a lot because to keep my flexibility, that's stretching every day, more than just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's about 30 minutes every day you stretch just to keep the tricks up that you have.
I like that. I like what you just said there. So guys, what the point or my takeaway from that is no one sees the work you do behind the scenes, right? So if they see you, kicking to the ceiling and dropping in triple splits is something I just made up, but they say, oh wow, that's pretty easy for her, but they don't see the time, the effort, the sweat, the energy, the hard work that went behind that. When you watched, I don't know if you've ever seen Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods, or I'm just thinking of the best athletes, Muhammad Ali, whatever it may be in their field. They look so awesome and amazing. It looks effortless. Man, they did that so easy. But you don't see behind the scenes all the hours and hard work and all the times they failed those shots, when they struggled or cried because they were so far from the split, or when they pulled a muscle, or, the injuries, which is common. I've gone through several of those.
I've definitely pulled quite a few muscles oh, I can do that. Wait, I didn't stretch. Nope.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm not the only dummy. Did I just call you a dummy? We'll cut that one. Just kidding. All right, you ladies. So demo team and demo captain has been good for you, as well as all the other people that you help. You also do the fight team. So you've had you're a little newer to that one. You did inter-school tournaments with kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, but you just recently have stepped up in into the world where we have bigger opportunities to do kickboxing and MMA and what we're calling the Pankration style. So a couple of those fights. How's that different when you're in a ring or a cage dealing with one person who is trying to hurt you? Yeah.
One thing I realized from this last fight is you can train and train and train, and they will help you. But there is a difference between training with your classmate and then fighting that person you don't know. Because with your classmate, after a little time, you notice their weaknesses. Like, oh, well, they don't really like going down to the floor. They don't like doing takedowns. But with this person, you know nothing about them. You know absolutely nothing. You just know their name, their weight, and how many fights they've had.
Yeah.
But besides that, they're a completely brand new person. But that relationship you build in the ring with that person after those first few fights, it's like incredible. It's like, wow, you just try to kill me, but you're cool.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of times people you compete with become your best friends. People that I fought, we had rivals, are really good friends even still today. Yeah. And you're right, it is weird, right? It's like hitting a bag. You can hit a bag so much, so long, and then you can get with a person and spar. Where the bag doesn't hit you back, this person does. And their resistance and their unpredictability, it changes things, right? That adrenaline and stress when you're in a competition, it's really your mindset, and you got to be in control of those emotions or you'll talk yourself out of it. We say that you'll lose the fight in the dressing room. You can lose the fight in the ring when the announcer is announcing. If you start letting those things get to you, but somebody that you don't know, you've never maybe met or sparred with or anything, and they have a different style because they have a different coach. They're from a different city, usually state, country. They're a different method. Their culture is different, So when you're competing and fighting against somebody in your own school, well, what's the difference? Your own classmates, typically, they have the same instructor. Y'all learn the same way. Y'all are on the same mats. You're in the same building. It's home. So it's a comfort zone. But what you're learning is to step out of and away from your comfort zone.
Yes.
What do we say? You do the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. You're right. So those things are helpful. And it can be intimidating.
Very.
Remember, I had a kickboxing fight. I didn't know anything about the guy. I learned more about him when they announced him. And it almost scared me, right? Because they called this guy out. They're like, National Golden Gloves champion. I was like, what? Nobody told me that.
I was like, what? Definitely when they announced her, they announced her fights, and I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I was like, don't talk yourself down. Just keep talking yourself up.
Everyone is beatable, And again, at least there's some rules where they're close to age and weight, experience. Sometimes you never know. Coaches sometimes are not the most honest, or let's say I don't mean to be dishonest. Maybe they just leave points out.
Yes.
Right? Like, yeah, I have this fighter weighing in at this much, this old, and they have 4 kickboxing fights. Well, they left out that they had 80 boxing fights, or something like that, right? And that's the problem now. If you say it's a problem with mixed martial arts competing in different aspects, some of these guys are fight gyms, man. They'll compete in boxing, they'll compete in wrestling, they'll compete in jiu-jitsu, they'll compete in MMA, pankration, sambo, you name it. If they can find a combat sport to compete in, they're there and they're competing, which is great. But you just never know really the true experience sometimes. But you figure it out. But you think these are regulated. They're for the safety of the competitors. That's the reason you have a referee. You have judges. It's not barbaric where, there's no rules fighting. It's not the old days of NHB or UFC 1 where there were little to no rules.
I remember growing up and watching the fighters and watching their fights. I'm like, is no one going to stop them? They're like, there's blood all over that one person. We're not going, we keep going. Okay. Just remember being the 5-year-old sitting in the chairs, watching my adopted older brother fighting. I was like, oh, Mom, can I go?
Yeah, that could be scary. And even now sometimes, the ref may stop a fight too late or too soon. It's a tough job, being a ref like that. But cool. All right, so we talked about fighting. We talked about demo team, teaching, assisting, leadership. What's some takeaways from there?
Don't be afraid to speak up. Because if you don't speak up, the kids are going to think they have control, and they'll just run you right over. They'll just take over that whole class when you're supposed to be the one in control.
Good luck on parenting too. But yeah,
you have to find it in you to speak up and not talk quietly. You have to be like, I'm in charge. You're not the one in charge. I in teaching you. You're not teaching me.
Yeah.
But we do learn things from the students that
100%.
are extremely helpful.
Yeah, that's a good point. So as you get older, if it's a job interview, if it's something in school or work or home or in a relationship, I like the whole point of speak up. Right? Stand up for yourself, stand your ground, be strong. Don't be rude or disrespectful. Now, when you're in charge of something and you are given a rank and you're given a position, yeah, you got to be in charge. So authority, man, again, there's ways to do it. A lot of times you show enough respect and you get the respect in return.
Yes, sir.
I would sometimes teach a 4-year-old or 5-year-old to say yes, sir, by saying yes, sir to them, because everyone that threw them off, I'm not a sir. I said, well, you are, right? But then, yeah, so you kind of show respect, you get it in return, but you gotta speak up. You can't let people run over you,
Yes.
right? That's how people are bullied, all kinds of ways. Being a little too weak-minded, maybe. So that's good that you've learned that.
One thing I had to definitely learn the very first day is I did not want to speak for my first few classes I taught. I was like, oh, I mean, that's okay, but, can I, then I had to, teach myself, no, you need to take charge. You need to speak up and not let them run over you. And that's definitely one thing I'm still trying to teach myself.
Yeah.
With bigger classes, I'm like, oh, nope, you got this. Speak up, take control. If you know what you're doing and you speak up like you know what you're doing, they're gonna listen.
Yeah. You gotta get that parent voice. That little sternness, right? So, you got any stories, takeaways, or anything from the teaching?
Oh, stories. There was this one time I was teaching 3 or 4-year-olds.
3 and 4-year-olds, those are different animals.
Yes, very different. And this one kid told me, I don't feel very well. I said, okay, why don't you go ahead and go grab your guardian and go to the restroom? They're like, no, you go with me. At this moment in time, I had 10 other 3 or 4-year-olds on the mat. It was already a pretty big class. I was like, no, I can't, but go grab your guardian and go to the restroom. Like, no, you come with me. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. Just try to get the parents' attention, and they threw up all over me.
Vomit.
All over me. I looked down. I was traumatized.
Yeah,
I was like,
me too.
We still had a good 5 minutes left of class. I was like, okay, you feel better now? They're like, uh-huh. I was like, okay, go get some water. I'll be right here. They went to go grab water, continued teaching class, called my mom. I was like, come get me. She's like, why? I was like, there's throw up. I'm about to throw up. Just please come get me.
Yeah, that's a bad one there. Oh, yeah. Well, you survived.
I don't do very well with throw up. Not my thing.
No, same. Yeah, man, we do see a lot. We go through a lot. It's crazy, but it's part of it, right? I guess, unfortunately there. But all right, young lady, I think that's a good talk on the things that I want to say. I'm proud of you and just acknowledge all your hard work. I know I'm hard on you sometimes, but did you say did you agree?
Huh? What? No. It's just to make me better.
Yeah, but
harder you are on a person, that means just more you love them and better you want them to be.
Well, as long as you know that, Miss Kinsey, Alejandro McKenzie, not Alejandro, what did I call you? Yeah. What's that other name? Jossalyn.
Yeah,
Jossalyn.
there we go.
Jossalyn. Yeah. All right. Well, good talk. Anything to add?
Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 30.
Ooh, I like that. Say that one more time.
Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 30.
Yeah.
That's one thing I had to learn very early on, is I was like, when I was red 3, I was like, well, this 3rd-degree black belt is amazing. Why can't I be like that?
Yeah.
That's because I'm still learning and I'm still growing into my belt rank.
Yeah,
and also, don't be afraid to do one more. Just one more. That's one rule we have on Fight Team. One more.
Yeah.
If you're tired, one more.
Yeah. If I say 15 push-ups, squeeze in 16. Yeah. It's a book I just read, actually. One more, but yeah, cool. Good deal. Well, nice talk, guys. Good interview here, man. We got some powerful things happening, so be sure to follow all of our podcasts as well as our videos, James Cox Martial Arts, and we'll see you in the future. Thank you.